Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Adriana Adventurous Catholic, and today I'm going to be talking about living out chastity, how my boyfriend and I strive for purity. Let us get started. So I have been asked before by a couple different people about tips that I would give to couples who are trying to practice chastity, live out purity. It's very difficult in a society that really pushes for we can say, not only okayness of sex before marriage, but really pushes for that as a good thing and something that people should do. They really advocate for people living together before marriage, unfortunately, and really living lives of sin, lives that are contrary to the will of God. So it can be tough. It can be tough if you are a person who is trying to save yourself for marriage and you don't know how to start. You want to get to know someone, but you're probably afraid that they may not see eye to eye on this topic as you do. So in this video, I'm going to address two questions. The first one is, what advice would you give to a couple who wants to practice chastity? And the second one is, what are ways you and your boyfriend stay away from temptation? Let us get right into it. So the first question, what advice would you give to a couple who wants to practice chastity? Besides prayer, because I'm going to talk more about that a little bit later in this video, the main thing I would say is to communicate from day one about what your expectations are and what your desires are for chastity. So if you are a person who wants to practice chastity, who wants to guard your purity and guard the purity of your significant other, that is one of the first things that you should talk about. Sometimes, even as Catholics, even if we are getting to know another Catholic, we start to assume certain things and expect that they are on the same page as us. And a lot of times that is just not the case. Have a conversation about it, be on the same page, and set your boundaries from the very start. Because, like that, the two of you will then walk into a courtship together, being on the same page, and that will make it so much easier. Not that temptation's not going to come now, but if it comes, you both will be alert and you'll both be attentive to it. My boyfriend and I, before we became official, it was one of our first dates. We were taking a walk and by a park, and then we just sat down and we started talking about this topic, chastity. What our expectations are of chastity, what we know about chastity, and what our boundaries are. So we set boundaries from the beginning, and that did make it a whole lot easier for us. Now in our courtship, we've been together for 13 months, and yes, there have been temptations, but because we've set our boundaries and we continue to we can say reestablish our boundaries or refresh ourselves with those conversations, then it makes it a whole lot easier if we just communicate about it. If you are losing hope that you are not going to find somebody out there, or perhaps you are getting to know a person right now and you are just discovering that they have a different point of view as you do, and you're uncertain because you may be afraid of losing this person and they might seem very important to you right now. Here is what I want to tell you. If this person that you are getting to know is truly centered on the will of God and wants to center God in their life, then their love for you is not going to lessen after this conversation. If anything, it's going to make them love you even more. Women, if you show a man that you are going to value yourself, value your dignity, and that you know your worth, then he is going to value you, or he's going to walk away for the better. For the better of your soul. You're going to be able to find someone who will. And so that's why I want to encourage you to set the boundaries from the start before you walk into an official courtship, an official courting relationship. I know a lot of people use the term dating. I don't like to use the term dating because it's very worldly. It sounds very uncommitted, and that's why I say courtship, because that's what courtship is. It is an established and committed relationship with the intention of marriage, with marriage as the end goal. Obviously, it doesn't mean that you are going to get married for sure, but it means that you're discerning that. And as Catholics, we need to be intentional. We need to know what we want, and perhaps we don't know what we want at a given moment, but we need to center that on God so that He can show us what we want and desire. All right, so the second question now, what are some ways that you and your boyfriend stay away from temptation? So if you know me, if you follow me on Instagram, if you've watched, I've addressed this as well in one of my videos, then you may know that my boyfriend and I are in a long distance relationship. He visits every couple of weeks, so we do go periods of time without being able to see each other. And then when our work schedules are very different, it makes it almost impossible sometimes to even speak on the phone during the week. So we both look very forward to seeing each other in person. It's like the most exciting thing ever because we don't get to see each other very often. So a long time without seeing each other can definitely raise those emotions up when that time does come. And that can make it tough to strive for purity if we begin to follow those emotions and to not be as alert. So this is why sometimes we need to have continuous conversations on our boundaries so that we can recenter our relationship on God, recenter our relationship on our goal. Our goal is to get to heaven. Our goal is to help each other get to heaven. And because we're trying to lead each other to heaven, then we both are trying to do the best that we possibly can to guard each other's purity, to avoid temptation. One thing my boyfriend and I have done is listening to advice that other holy individuals that we look up to give us. So if people give us really good, solid advice, then we want to do our best to take that advice. Hi guys, so I'm editing the video and I wanted to jump in real quick and say a clarification so that there are no misunderstandings, and that is that in the beginning of our relationship, there were definitely a lot of people who were trying to give us advice and tell us their point of view, their perspective on things. So no, we didn't take everybody's advice. And I also recommend that for you. Don't just take every advice. Pray about it. Talk to each other about it, and that's what we did. We listened and were open to people's opinions, but at the end of the day, we prayed about it and we talked about it to each other. And if we were not comfortable, we didn't feel comfortable with a piece of advice or didn't feel at peace with it, then we didn't take it. So the rest of the points that I'll be making, the rest of the video will be on things that we did take advice, if that makes sense. All right, hope you enjoy the rest of the video. One was not being in a parked car together, because this definitely raises the opportunity for temptation. I mean, you are enclosing yourselves in this space, and that is just a perfect opportunity that the devil would use because there's not other people around. To best avoid temptation, that is one thing that we strive to do. Another is making sure that our dates are in public places, in daylight. This way other people are present. They don't need to be there with you, obviously, and like listen into your conversations. But as long as there are people around, that makes it safer for the two of you. Something we've talked about is making sure that we are not in a house together by ourselves. If there's nobody else in the house, we will not go. Another thing is making sure to not be in the same room, especially not a bedroom, together without anybody else present. Yeah, that hasn't been an issue for us at all because we're very aware and just avoid bedrooms altogether when we are at each other's houses. Now, when it comes to kissing, that's probably what a lot of you are thinking, like, what does she think about kissing? Is it bad? Is it a sin? Is it bad to kiss before marriage? What is she gonna say? I've gone to various people who I really look up to as holy men and women with different perspectives on this. So my boyfriend and I spoke about this and we are on board on the same page with this, and that is that our boundary that we've set for kissing is our kissing is limited to pecking, but anything more than that would be breaking the boundary. So we can kiss each other on the cheeks, we can kiss each other on the forehead, we can kiss each other on the face, on the hands, and then we can kiss each other on the lips only if it's a peck. We also limit our body contact because that can raise passion. So yes, we show each other affection. We don't think there's anything wrong with that. Some people do think that there's something wrong with showing affection when you are courting, but we actually see it as helpful. We see it as a very beautiful thing, so long as the couple is very aware, very conscious of boundaries that are necessary, and making sure not to go too far. So this is a very big thing that many girls don't understand, and I don't care. I'm gonna call them out on it because I'm a girl too, and at one point I didn't understand this either. Thank God I have 3 brothers, and they really allowed me to know this before I got to meet my current boyfriend. So this helped me out big time to understand him when he brought this up. So many men don't speak up about this because they're afraid to offend women that they are going on dates with. Women need to know this. A lot of women don't have men in their lives to tell them this. And that is that men are very easily triggered, way more than females are, because our hormones are just different. That's simple biology. It's not the men's fault, okay? It's also not the women's fault, but it's just the way that we are. For a girl, holding hands with her boyfriend can be cute and all and lovely, and that's it. And then for the guy, it stirs up their hormones and it raises passion. Because of this, it's easier for women to show affection right away than men. Girls are actually subconsciously trying to show the man with their affection that they are going to be good wives and mothers and affectionate. This is just part of our motherly nature to show affection. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that incredible? And the cool thing about this is that my boyfriend actually taught this to me. I didn't know that before. I didn't know that women are typically the first ones to show affection because they're showing their motherly selves to the guy. It's pretty mind-blowing, at least to me. But the dangerous part of this can be that the guy's hormones skyrocket when this happens very early on in a relationship. Affection, I see affection as something that just needs to be shown gradually in a very slow process, and definitely not too much of it before um, getting into marriage, because obviously in marriage is when the two of you are really committed to each other and really becoming one. So yes, this requires sacrifice. Women, it requires sometimes to die to your own desires of wanting to show him affection right away until the time is right. And men, the same vice versa, because men can also easily just fall into what their hormones are telling them, and then it can lead to situations that can open up temptation. So if anything, these sacrifices are only going to prove your love for one another. That's what it's been doing to us, to my boyfriend and and I know that he can agree to that because we talk about it often, and we are just in awe of all that God has been trying to do through us when we let him. Now, another thing we do to strive for purity, to stay away from temptation, is my favorite one. And that is that right when he comes to visit, so when he comes to visit from where he lives, as soon as he comes to my house, the first thing we do is we pray. My family has a grotto of Our Lady of the Lourdes that my dad created. He placed the statue of Our Lady of the Lourdes. And so my boyfriend and I go to her as soon as he comes, as soon as he gets here. We go to her and we ask her to pray for us so that Our Lady can guide us in striving for purity. We do the same thing when he drops me off for the last time before heading back home. We thank her for helping us strive for chastity. Her and St. Joseph are the perfect role models for chastity. Like, who else can we go to? They perfectly lived out this virtue, and Our Lady out of everybody was made flawless without any sin. I mean, without original sin and then preserved from sin. I mean, she is the perfect role model for this. So who else can we go to but her, and obviously God, who created us for this purpose. But from there, it's just a matter of striving to stay within our boundaries. If anything you should take away from this video, if you're a girl, is do not settle for a man who cannot accept your boundaries or cannot understand them. To my guy viewers out there, if the girl doesn't bring it up, then you should be the first one to bring it up. Don't be afraid to bring up a conversation about boundaries and let her know that she is worth so much more than she may imagine, and that you want to show that to her, and that you want to value her and respect her and treat her the way that she deserves to be treated. Some girls were never told this. Many girls were never valued in their previous relationships, and so they need it. They need a man to tell them that they are worth more than they think. Chastity is a tough journey sometimes. It's a struggle, but it's such a beautiful thing. Chastity is supposed to be beautiful when you do it centering God the whole time and praying about it and talking about it openly with one another, being open to sacrifice even more than what you thought you probably had to sacrifice. So with that said, thank you for watching. I hope you learned something new from this video. God bless you all. Stay faithful, my friends, and I will see you all next week.